references that just cost too much money. Why are they doing that?
Yeah.
But for the most part, you got to have a union. You got to have money to support a union. It's just necessary.
Yeah. Do you think there's any way that, even though, I mean, unions are good, obviously that's what you're saying, and then there's the bad parts of it, like they're spending too much money. Is there any way, do you think, that could prevent the unions from kind of spending things that are not really necessary?
Sure. Every year they have a representative assembly. We have a person who goes on behalf of Wabeno all the time, who always votes down expensive things. Mike is he's just a bulldog on why are we spending so much money on such silly stuff. I one time had a little foray into that too. I one time picketed WEAC at one of our representative assemblies. And for the rest of the day, I had to always hang around with people. So, like, if I would go in the bathroom by myself, I wouldn't have walked out unbeaten. and the management from the hotel came out, and he was just apoplectic that we were having this picketing going on. And then he said, "Oh, you're picketing WEAC." And he's, "Well, go ahead. This is great. No problem." But, yeah, you do need to elect people who will speak up and say, "Yeah, you're spending too much money, and this is ridiculous." And that can be done. And it takes a relatively small number of people to speak up and do it,
Mm-hmm. Does anyone else
But
have a question?
ultimately, you can't stop the big spending. It's going to be there.
Okay. Well, my question is, do you guys think that there's a better way? Okay, well, I read this article about people signing petitions and everything to try to get Scott Walker removed from office. Do you guys think that this is the best option, or do you think that there's a better way to resolve the conflict between the unions and Scott Walker?
Scott Walker has shown absolutely no desire to work together or to respect each other. Scott Walker's famous line is, "Elections have consequences." He did not run on eliminating unions or union rights. He ran on other things. But his line is, elections have consequences. My own opinion is, regardless of whether the recall election results in him being recalled or not, I think it's going to make a difference. It's going to make a difference in the next governor who's elected. People shouldn't be that unhappy with their government. They should be able to trust their people. I think it's going to make a difference at the national level. I think absolutely this recall election must go through, even if we have no chance of winning. If you take a look historically at people who have lost a lot, and you take a look at and compare them, the people who fought back while they were losing a lot lost less than the people who didn't fight back.
Okay, and then, sorry.
No, I have the questions.
And then one other thing, with this bill, the teachers and government workers would be required to pay more for health care and pensions. And, I mean, obviously government workers aren't paid very much to begin with, so how much of an effect would this put on government workers as far as financially?
This bill is in place right now, and we have families who are drastically, severely affected by it. I've been in teaching a little while, and I'm making $600 a month less than I made last year.
Wow.
That's because we don't have a raise, because the district can't afford a raise. Because of the governor's budget, the district had to look at less expensive health insurance. So we're getting a lower quality health insurance, and we're paying more for it. Now, our union had already been paying, I think, 9% of our health care expenses, and the governor said, well, everybody has to pay 12 or whatever, 12 and a half. The governor said you have to pay 12. So that did take some more money out of our paychecks. The deductibles or the things that we have to cover that weren't before. For instance, our insurance changed so that we have an area regionally that we can go to, which is where we live and west of us. Well, my oncologist lives east of me, so I have to pay an extra $800 a year for additional insurance so I can continue to see the person who's been monitoring cancer in my body. We have other people like me on staff that have had to pay that $800-900 a year extra over and above everything else. We have to pay this, so we continue to work with some of the doctors that we've worked with for the last 10, 15, 20 years. There already are immediate expenses because of the bill, not only in insurance, but we've lost a whole lot of money. Furthermore, in a small district, when I went to college, I was an English and economics major, got bachelor's degree in English and economics, and did my education as a master's degree. Started teaching, but I got English education. I didn't add the broad field social studies at the time. So now in this small district, they're saying, will you please add that? They will reimburse me $175 a credit, which, as you know, is not what credits cost.
At the master's degree level.
At the master's degree level, right. If I didn't have a master's degree already, they'd only give me, is it 125 or 150?
I think so, yeah.
125 or 150 per credit. So now I'm taking 9 credits out of River Falls, working with some of my old social studies and econ professors, and it's costing me $4,300 just for this semester, so that I can do something that the district wants me to do, so that I can be there next year, and maybe a social studies guy will go instead of an English gal, okay? So that additional money for further education that is not fully reimbursed is another huge expense in my household. I looked at between all of the medical contingencies, between the pay kind of loss, between what and add on what I'm paying for tuition, somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000 that I'm under what I was making last year. I don't know if you know what teachers make, but to lose $8,000 or $10,000 is a huge deal.
Oh yeah.
Huge deal. And I know that there are many families in our district. One, in fact, called me just before we started this phone call. She is the solo wage earner in her home and can barely support her family, same medical additions that I have had, and has, stress levels in her household are ridiculous, and marital problems. They're talking about divorce. So all these dominoes add up to not only trauma in the schools, but trauma in the homes and personal lives of teachers. It's a big deal.
So
And
do you
it's
think,
even bigger for the support staff.
Yes.
Paid a lot less.
Because for a support staff person who makes $10 an hour at most, it's a dramatic cut for them. Now they're working just to keep their insurance. They can't eat or support a family on what they make.
so then do you think nationally this will affect the percentage of young people going into the profession of education and teaching?
I don't know the answer to that question, because I'm looking at the 5 of you and seeing people who are inquiring about what the real state of education is in the trenches. I think that people who are well informed will double think before they go into the field. Personally, I have a lot of hope for education, because I think this is something, it's a big bump in the road, but I do see this as a bump. I think it's something we need to work through and beyond to save education for our kids, for the future of the nation. I think definitely it will affect young people who are making decisions about going into education. But that all boils down to personal choice and priorities too. I'm certain for Earl, and I know that it's true for me, there are other things we could be doing with our lives, but this is what we're choosing. This is what is worthwhile. This is what is important. When you get up in the morning,